أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to IIT's Resilient Hour. We're so excited that you are joining us today. We are happy to have you with us every day at this time for the Resilient Hour. We miss everyone. We miss seeing everyone every day for Taraweeh, for Saturday Iftars. We hope that we can connect with you on some level through this Resilient Hour every day. And we thank you again for tuning in every single day and for listening to us and for listening to our speakers and for engaging with us. So if you are tuning in from a different city or if you are here in Toronto, please comment where you're from, engage in the comments, ask each other questions, and maybe meet new people. Hopefully we can enjoy this hour together as Resilient Hour. I just want to, before we introduce our speaker for the day today, I just want to recap some of the programs that IIT has this Ramadan. We have a full lineup of programs this Ramadan for everyone here. We do have the Fajr Adhan every day. We have a daily Quran recitation at 5 a.m. We have du'as to power your day with Sheikh Ahmed Kuti. That's at 5 p.m. We have the Resilient Hour at 7:30 p.m. We have the Gems of Quranic Wisdom at 10 p.m. We also have some really, really good resources on our website. We have last year's recordings. We have a course about preparation for Ramadan. Those are on our website, islam.ca. You go to islam.ca, click on education, click on courses. You'll be able to access all of the courses that we've done in the past, and the Ramadan course is part of that. And it's very excellent resource on Ramadan, preparing for Ramadan, some of the details, and just to get motivated as well. We're about halfway through the month, and it would still be a really good resource for you to go and check that out. This year, we're also running a daily challenge on Instagram on the stories. Check it out. It's a daily quiz. You can try it out and learn something new. We also this year have a kids program. It has daily challenges on Flipgrid. And if you check the website for details, you'll be able to see more, islam.ca. Lastly, our cupcake sale and drive-through iftar is on May 1st. We're really excited about this. The drive-through is going to be on May 1st, and it will be starting at 5 p.m. So ensure that you get your families, you get in your cars, and you come and join us at IIT. And of course, we will be so happy to see you there. And even though it won't be the same as what we usually have, we'll still be happy to see you in some way. So looking forward to seeing you there, inshallah. As always, we will ask that you can donate to IIT, support us. We're all going through these times in the pandemic, and we really do need your support. We rely on your support. We do have our 1 in 1,000 campaign, which is 1,000 people giving $300 each. If you can be one of those people, we would be so grateful, inshallah. And we're kind of calling it a virtual line collection, as we can't have a regular line collection last year or this year. But we would really appreciate it if you could be one of the 1 in 1,000 people who are giving $300 each, inshallah. And any of the announcements or any of these programs that you want to see that you've missed, check us out on Facebook, check our YouTube channel, and check islam.ca, which is our website. Today's speaker, inshallah, is Sister Rabia Khedr. And Sister Rabia Khedr is huge in our community, and I'm sure everybody knows her in some way or another or has heard of her. She's a community leader. She's dedicated to helping others address issues of fairness and justice affecting persons with disabilities, women, and diverse communities. She recently served as a commissioner for the Ontario Human Rights Commission. She's the Chief Executive Officer for the Disability Empowerment Equality Network Support Services, serving individuals with disabilities in Ontario, and the Executive Director of the Muslim Council of Peel, supporting not-for-profit organizations and charities. Sister Rabia is the founder of the Canadian Alliance on Race and Disability, which represents racialized individuals with disabilities and organizations in local, provincial, and national consultations. She's also a member of the Mississauga Accessibility Advisory Committee, a motivational speaker, and a documentary commentator. Sister Rabia has received numerous awards for humanitarian services, including a Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Medal. Sister Rabia holds a Bachelor of Arts and a Master's of Arts. She's also well known for her work and advocacy for disability rights amongst Muslims. She's the founder and executive director of Dean Support Services, whom I'm sure everyone has heard of. She's no stranger to IIT and has spoken and supported IIT in its collaboration with Dean Support and other disability-related initiatives. So without further ado, I will pass it on to Sister Rabia, who will speak to us, and afterwards I will follow up with some questions on her talk. Sister Rabia, welcome. Very nice to see you, and welcome to our program, and looking forward to hearing.
Jazakumullah khairan. Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. First and foremost, let me ask about you fully accessing this platform. I hope you are able to type in your comments. Are you able to hear me clearly? Am I speaking at the right pace? If we were in person, I would be asking you, is the room warm enough? Are you needing to move around and sit closer or further or whatnot? This is an accommodation question on my part. Okay. And I always have an ulterior motive for asking this question. And because I'm no stranger to you guys, saying some of this stuff will be already common knowledge to you. But I specifically asked the question of accommodation to ensure your full participation in this time that we are going to spend together. In this virtual space, accommodation looks very different. And it looks very different for someone like me who has a disability as well. In a room, I can pick up the vibe, the air, the noise, the fidgeting and twitching and whatever little sounds there are of people coming and going in that space. However, in this virtual space, I am limited to my engagement with you. So if you cannot hear me, you cannot, you need to adjust your camera or something, please proceed. I simply would welcome your feedback, your comments, because like I said, I cannot pick up the vibe in the room simply through this virtual format. And this is something that able-bodied people today, many of whom speak through these types of platforms, would also experience just like me. We're missing out on the experience of speaking live and in person. I may not see you in the audience, but I would feel you. Sighted people would also see you in the audience, and we're missing out on that experience today in this new normal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has willed for us to experience. If I am to say something good, I am absolutely eternally grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given me the ability to speak, the ability to use my tongue, the ability to have a voice, the ability to speak the language and use that language in a way that is effective and communicates well. If I am to make any errors in the way that I speak, if I am to cause harm or ill feelings or offend anyone or say something inaccurate, it is my error and my error alone. It is my mistake, and I seek forgiveness from you, and I seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening. I know that it's close to the dinner hour and it has been a long and intense day. Well, I hope that I bring you something of value in this time that you have chosen to spend with us tonight. I am very grateful to the Islamic Institute of Toronto and their team for inviting me and welcoming me to this platform. IIT is a community builder. IIT is an instrumental part of the Scarborough community, of the Greater Toronto area as a whole. IIT contributes in so many powerful ways. I am grateful to IIT for the support that they have provided their brothers and sisters with disabilities through their various programs and partnerships, and especially in their partnership with Dean Support Services. I am also grateful to my Indigenous sisters and brothers and the ancestors that have allowed us to settle on these lands and occupy these lands that we call home. I am speaking to you from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. Mississauga, the traditional territories most recently of the Mississaugas of the New Credit. I am eternally grateful to this land that they allow me to share in its blessings and bounty. With the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I am grateful to call Mississauga and Canada my home. I was born in a small village outside of Islamabad, Pakistan, in my grandmother's house, in a place where if I grew up there, I wouldn't have had opportunities. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His infinite wisdom, brought my parents and I on this journey to here, to this land. And in this land, although the struggle continues, although the journey has not been easy, although the path has been forged with many trials and some triumphs, I wouldn't have had those triumphs in my life if I did not have rights. I had rights, and hence I can be resilient. I had rights legally and constitutionally, rights that are well entrenched in Islamic tradition, but not necessarily practiced around the globe in Muslim space. I had rights to access education first and foremost. So thank God I grew up in Canada. Thank God I grew up in Canada, because Canada is the best, and I have the right to voice for more and make it better. And that's what I've continued to do. I have continued to work hard to make Canada better. Better for people with disabilities, better for women, better for racialized communities, better working hand in hand with friends who choose to share power with me or help me to enable and optimize my power to voice for those who cannot voice for themselves. So when I say I'm not talking about just me. It's about we. It's about the people in my life. It's about my parents, my siblings, my husband, my children. I define myself as Rabia Khedr, a hyphen with many hijabs, a Muslim, Punjabi, Pakistani, Canadian woman, wife, mother, activist, advocate, daughter of aging parents, sibling of individuals with disabilities, and I happen to be blind. I happen to be blind, and I consider that today a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It protects me from seeing so many things that I don't need to waste time seeing. Therefore, I have more time, and I spend that time doing things that make a difference in my life and in the lives of my neighborhood, my community, and my society. In the lives of, most importantly, I hope, people with disabilities and people with intellectual disabilities. I am not alone in this journey. I find strength from my lived experience, the lived experience of my family, and the lived experience of my sisters and brothers in faith and in other non-faith or other faith affiliations who live with disabilities and their journeys. I always recognize the people that have had tremendous impact in my life. I am grateful to people who have empowered me, encouraged me, and helped me in this journey, mentored me. I have been mentored by many, many great women, especially wonderful, pioneering Muslim women, one of whom is an integral part of the IIT community. Rabia Hanif Cleophas has shaped my path on disability rights from the first day that I met her. I always said I had enough of disability personally. I was not going to make a profession. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the master planner, and He brings people into your life that guide you on a certain path, that become your companions, that become your mentors, your teachers, your friends, your allies, your supporters. And Rabia is one of those people in my life that I know that I can always count on for her wisdom and her support and her encouragement. There are many other such women who have empowered me in that same way. And of course, men and brothers. Sheikh Abdullah Hakim Quick, no stranger to IIT, does not know the impact he's had on me. And I don't think I've ever told him this story. I didn't always wear hijab. But in university, I became very conscious of what was politically happening around us. I graduated in 1993, and on or about, the winter around January, February, I think Ramadan was somewhere around February at that time. I can't remember now. It's been a long time. We had Sheikh Abdullah Hakim come and do a presentation on campus because I was involved with the Muslim Students Association. And I remember that Ramadan not wearing hijab and feeling awful about myself. And one of the people I thought of course, I thought of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wisdom in the verses in the Quran that ask women to pull their veils down. I recalled that verse, but I also recalled feeling, wow, if I am not wearing hijab today and I run into people that I admire, that I respect, like the sheikh, like this particular sheikh, like other people that I have the utmost respect for, I am going to feel uncomfortable and embarrassed. I am very proud as a Muslim, and it is time that I show off that pride. I was graduating with a bachelor's from the University of Toronto on June the 17th, 1993, and I made a decision to walk out with my diploma and put on my hijab and never remove it again, making a political statement to the world that I am Muslim and I am resilient. I want you to not only see me as a blind brown woman or a brown blind woman, I want you to see me as Muslim first. That's what should distinguish me first in the crowd. So I am tremendously grateful to many, many other individuals who joined me in this journey. Another tremendous friend of IIT and tremendous friends of Deen Support Services are Ansar Financial and Ansar Cooperative Housing Corporation. Brother Parvez Nasim and Brother Jalaluddin believed in the work that I was embarking on for people with disabilities, first through the Canadian Association of Muslims with Disabilities, and subsequently through Deen Support Services. We have things in common. I have a disability. I have siblings with disabilities. They had children with disabilities. We had common ground. We discovered that common ground. We had common values and we had a dream. And we are working on that dream. We are dreaming and we are dreaming big. Our first part of that dream was to establish a center in Mississauga, a house that is known as the Muniba Center, run by Deen Support Services. Deen, of course, standing for faith, but alternatively also meaning disability, empowerment, equality network. This is what it's all about. We work with people with disabilities, their families, regardless of whether they're Muslim or not. We work from an Islamic framework to support our brothers and sisters with disabilities in the Muslim community and our brothers and sisters in humanity living with disabilities. We are run for and by people with disabilities. That is critical. Nothing about us without us. This is the mantra of the mainstream disability rights community. There is a global movement out there that advocates for the rights of people with disabilities that have been compromised during COVID-19, during these emergency measures, during the stay-at-home orders. Your sisters and brothers with disabilities have been forgotten and left more vulnerable than ever before in our shared history. We have made so many advances in laws through the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, through the Human Rights Code, through the accessibility legislation, through the federal accessibility standards being forged out, through the international conventions and treaties. And yet, during this global emergency inflicted on all of humanity, we inflicted more harm on our sisters and brothers with disabilities. We realized very quickly that this is about all of us and our families, and we rose to the challenge because we are resilient as an organization, as individuals. And we said, we will take the risk to continue serving in creative ways. We are going to stand up and not leave people with disabilities stranded. We are going to support our brothers and sisters, particularly with intellectual disabilities, by not isolating them even further from society, by not taking away the very few things that they enjoy in their lives, the very few opportunities they have to engage with others in their lives. So we went virtual very early. While people were scrambling around to figure out what to do, we were virtual in our programming March of 2020. We only shut down for 2 weeks. Then we proceeded slowly to start delivering programming at people's doors by taking them for walks because they had a right to breathe fresh air. They shouldn't be locked away like they are today in institutions. We have group homes in the community, but we are keeping people hidden and away. We are not allowing them to even go out and breathe freely for their own protection. This is frightening people, and we cannot stand for that. People with disabilities found themselves in more and more poverty. So we started, people out there, people with disabilities across this country started a national movement that I am proud to be co-chairing. This is a broad-based national movement of people with disabilities to make sure that we alleviate poverty in the disability community across this country. That 22% of Canadians that live with disabilities should not be forced to live in poverty, and further exacerbated poverty and barriers as a result of this pandemic. We have to build the future. The government keeps saying build back better. I say build forward better. We have to build forward better. We have to build forward fresh. The future is ours, and we have to shape it no matter who we are, because we are free. We live in a country where we have rights, and we have a responsibility to make sure that we build a better tomorrow that includes everyone, that includes absolutely everyone. So as we dream of this future post-pandemic, let's do our part. No excuses, folks. If a blind woman can do what I do, if a woman in a wheelchair can do what Rabia does, if your deaf brothers and sisters can do what they do, if your sisters and brothers who live with intellectual disabilities, their parents can contribute in the ways that they contribute to your community, you have no excuse but rise to the challenge of resilience. Be resilient. This is what our dean teaches us. Our dean teaches us to adapt to whatever Allah wills and to make the best of it, to be optimistic, to have hope, to have faith, and to work to be good and do good. We have a duty to do good. These are the nights of forgiveness. These middle days of Ramadan are the days of forgiveness. So let's forgive our shortcomings. Let's forgive the mistakes that we have made and seek forgiveness for those mistakes. Let's ask for forgiveness from our brothers and sisters who we've forgotten. And let's remind ourselves to do better and be better. Let's protect our society's most vulnerable members. And our society's most vulnerable members unarguably are people with disabilities, and particularly people with disabilities who have intellectual disabilities, who have autism, who have global developmental delay, who have mental illness. These are the most vulnerable members of our community. And we have a duty to make sure that they are protected and they are given opportunities and they are fully embraced in society. There is no harm in wheelchairs entering our mosques. There is no harm in even, and I will say it, guide dogs entering our houses of worship. We have to find ways to accommodate and welcome and embrace our brothers and sisters with disabilities. There is no harm with somebody with an intellectual disability or a mental health related disability having an episode. There is no harm. We have to protect and support those around us that live with experiences that we may not share. It is our duty, and nothing about us without us. People with disabilities have to be included in all aspects of our community, in all aspects of society. And every one of us, with or without a disability, has a duty to voice for the fair and equal treatment of everyone around us, and particularly our brothers and sisters with disabilities. Inshallah, I have said something of benefit. I'm speaking from the heart. I am speaking very emotionally. It is a very emotional time for many of us. And I hope that these emotions bring out something positive, bring out an energy and a willpower and a commitment for us to act and to do something that makes a difference.
Inshallah.
Please check out Dean Support Services. Our website is deansupportservices.ca. Our Twitter handle is at Dean_S_S. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Sister Rabia. Thank you so much for those educational and motivational words. And I know you said that it was very emotional, and I could feel that personally. And, you know, that you really enlightened me, at least, on this. And your talk has not only inspired me, but others who are viewing. And to answer some of the questions that you asked in the beginning, people can comment and engage and ask questions. And some of the questions some of the comments that we've been having, someone has commented, said very educational and motivational. Jazakumullahu khairan. That's from Sister Anila. Assalamu alaikum from Sister Amtul Hussein, who I'm sure you know. Someone else said powerful and uplifting, Sister Syra. We also have someone saying, may Allah bless, support, and strengthen you, Sister Rabia. Indeed, very articulate and powerful voice for the voiceless, the marginalized, and the most vulnerable in our society. People are commenting where they are joining in from. People from Scarborough. Someone is commenting, Assalamu alaikum. Lots of salams from Scarborough, from other locations where people are joining in. So alhamdulillah, we have that engagement. People really enjoyed your talk, as well as myself. I just wanted to mention, before I get into questions about what you said and about some other aspects. I want to mention that before we started the program, before we went live on air, Sister Rabia was saying, "Oh, how's my hijab?" And she was asking us. So I just want to say, Sister Rabia, you and I are matching hijabs. I'm wearing maroon/red, and you're also wearing maroon/red. So
okay,
you know,
we didn't coordinate.
Yeah, we didn't, but it kind of brought me to thinking about something that you touched on in the beginning, that with these virtual programs, we, and especially someone who has a disability, we are unable to pick up the vibe in the room. You know, what's the lighting like, or what's the feel of the room? And that's something that I didn't really think about beforehand. You know, I thought that, I miss going to the masjid, I miss going to IIT, I miss kind of meeting people and things like that. But I never actually thought about, okay, how someone with a disability can't pick up on the vibe of the room. That's something that I didn't really think about, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't really thought of that. And so thank you for enlightening us about that. We have about 175 viewers right now listening to our program, and we're live, and they are commenting, and they're listening, and they are sharing, alhamdulillah. So I just have a few questions for you, just to follow up on what you were saying. And one of the things that you mentioned was that you guys went virtual very, very early, and you had no choice really but to do that, and everyone else was kind of scrambling. And it got me to thinking that resiliency, it looks really different for different people. So how would you say that that people with disabilities, and as you mentioned, intellectual disabilities, how have they had to manage in this situation, this pandemic? And as you've said, Dean Support Services and your community, and you have had to be resilient in that, moving virtual or other things. How has the pandemic really affected that ability to be resilient for people with disabilities?
Well, specifically for people with intellectual disabilities, it's not just about their individual resilience, but it's about the resilience of everybody around them. Their caregivers, often their mothers, their siblings, their fathers, their paid caregivers. It's about people who still continued, regardless of the lockdown, to work. For
Okay.
example, for my brother who passed away end of November, his workers never stayed home. They kept coming regardless of the lockdown. They took that risk. They wore their PPEs. They still came indoors. They still took him for car rides. They still, took him to their home and brought him home and spent time with him, kept his routine going. That was critical, and that was resilience, and that was, beyond the call of duty, beyond what they're paid for. For families, it was adapting to the fact that for many families, that they may not have as much support. They may not have respite, having to adjust their routines, working parents having to adjust their routines, working from home while having their adult children with intellectual disabilities at home. People with intellectual disabilities and their families learned how to navigate Zoom for virtual programming.
Right.
Mind you, not everybody can benefit from virtual programming. So there
Of
were
course,
still
yeah.
people who face barriers to virtual programming. And that's why for us as an agency, our resilience was, we're going to dream and we're going to work within the guidelines of the pandemic and emergency measures and social distancing, like all the safety protocols. And we're going to go in full PPEs. We're going to have staff going in full PPEs to people's homes and doing activities on their front porch, on their back lawn, in the park across the street, because for those individuals, they need that interaction. That interaction is critical. We can't take away their choice. They have to be able to choose.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's very well put. That, first of all, I want to say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun, my condolences for the passing of your brother. And it's great to hear that you've mentioned that there are some people who the people around them have been able to rise to the challenge, to be able to be resilient, to meet those circumstances. But it's not always possible, I guess, with everyone, right? Everyone has a different situation. And one thing that you mentioned in your talk, you said that there's no disadvantage to having wheelchairs in the masjid, to having guide dogs in the masjid. It actually can bring about benefit. And as you said that, I was remembering, and you mentioned Sister Rabia, I was remembering, and I don't know if she's watching, but I'm remembering that from a very young age, I remember Sister Rabia when we were younger. And that was really the first person that I had seen with a wheelchair, and she was always so active in the community. She taught me actually for a number of years. When I was much younger, she would give us rides on her wheelchair, and it was something that was positive for me, and I always looked forward to seeing her as a kid, as a child. So maybe I would get a ride on her wheelchair, and then as an adult, she would always she would lead our class of sisters, teenage sisters, for a number of years. And so that positivity, it really can affect how people view this. And what is it that institutions and that because that's on an individual level, that's Sister Rafia and who she is as a person and her positivity and her really making a change to those around her. But what is something that institutions or organizations or just groups of people, what are some of the things that they can do to bring about that positivity and bring about that outlook so that we can have a different outlook?
It essentially means we need to continue the work on shifting attitudes, shifting the language that we use to describe people with disabilities. We have to involve people with disabilities in all aspects of the organization, from the board to committees to volunteers to staff. Pay people with disabilities to do work. There are very, very skilled people out there. IIT has a tremendous community of people with disabilities. Like, the skills are, Sister Umto's online. She has incredible skills as a woman who identifies as deaf. There are many other deaf people in the community who have skills to offer. There are people like Sister Noma Hamash, who's a social worker, like Sister Sakina Sadakat, both of whom use wheelchairs, but they have things to offer. They can volunteer, they can counsel, they can, like, everybody has some skill to offer. We just have to look at their abilities and take opportunity of their abilities and not just focus on the disability that we see.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Just one more question, kind of on a lighter note, not necessarily on a lighter note, a different note. Someone mentioned to me, actually my dad mentioned to me, that you have the map of Toronto memorized in your head. Is this true? And how challenged? Actually, I'll tell you a personal anecdote, and maybe you don't even remember this, but I work in Newmarket, Ontario, and
yes,
quite
I remember.
Okay, so yeah, so I actually saw, for those who are watching, I work in Newmarket, Ontario, and I actually saw Sister Rabia in Newmarket in my workplace, and she was around, and I approached her, and she said, "Oh, like I didn't expect to see someone in Newmarket." So, do you have the map of the GTA memorized in your head?
Well, my father loved to drive. He still loves to drive. He's like 80 plus and drives. And if he didn't drive me around in my life, I wouldn't have gone to school. I wouldn't have done the things I've done. He used to love taking us for rides. And I always, I had some sight growing up. It's never been perfect, but I had some. And I always watched where we were going. I was always very inquisitive of the streets. I wanted to know the streets and stuff like that. He knew Toronto inside out. He drove us everywhere, almost daily car rides. So I got to know the map. And I've lived my life here from the age of 4. My street, I walk from my house to my parents' house, which is 2 doors away, and I don't use a cane. I walk freely because I know every step I take, and I put my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I don't have the map memorized per se. I kind of know the grid. I'm pretty good at, knowing where I'm going, because I want people to take me places, so I had to know where I'm going. I didn't want to get lost.
That's
no
very
cab
true.
could take me the long way around.
Yeah.
Before apps and Uber. So yeah, I pride myself on knowing the GTA, but put me in another city and I'm lost. Put me in Hamilton and I'm like, oh my God, where am I?
Okay. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I'm going to call on our reciter, Jibril, to do a quick recitation before we have the adhan. Jazakallah. Jibril, go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق النجم الثاقب إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق من ماء دافق يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب إنه على رجعه لقادر يوم تبلى السرائر فما له من قوة ولا ناصر والسماء ذات الرجع والأرض ذات الصدع إنه لقول فصل وما هو بالهزل إنهم يكيدون كيدا ويكيد كيدا فمهل الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء نحوا سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى صدق الله العظيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله